What if some musicians had a glimpse of their fate before it arrived?
If I'm gonna die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy.
It is not just a feeling. Chilling warnings are hidden in their lyrics, interviews, and final moments. Tupac rapped about a short life, but then his time was cut short. Biggie named his final album Life After Death and never lived to see its release. John Lennon sensed a shadow following him until it finally reached him. Jeff Buckley sang of drowning before vanishing into the water. Mac Miller spoke of not making it another year, then he was gone. Were these eerie coincidences, or did their words shape reality? Tonight, we unravel the mystery. Number 1. Tupac Shakur, the rapper who saw it coming. Tupac Shakur wasn't just a hip-hop legend, he was a man who seemed to predict his fate. Again and again, his music, interviews, and even album covers hinted at an untimely end waiting for him. In his song Ain't Hard to Find, he rapped, "I've been targeted and taken out, can tell you how it happened word for word." His album The Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory, released just 2 months after his passing, showed him on the cover, symbolically depicted on a cross, almost as if he knew he wouldn't be around much longer. Tupac often spoke about not having a long future, even telling an interviewer, "I'm not going to be here forever."
I know how it's going to be when I die. It's going to be no noise, you're going to hear people screaming, I'm going to fade out.
On September 7th, 1996, his words became reality. While leaving a Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas, he was hit 4 times in an incident involving another vehicle. He fought for his life in the hospital for 6 days, but passed away on September 13th at just 25 years old. His case remains unsolved. But the real question is, did Tupac predict his fate, or did his words somehow influence it? Maybe he understood the risks too well. Perhaps he sensed it coming. Either way, his premonition came true. Number 2. The Notorious Big. A Life After End. Christopher Wallace, better known as the Notorious Big, didn't just rap about street life, he rapped about fate, almost as if he knew what was coming. His lyrics were filled with eerie premonitions, none more haunting than his final album title, Life After Death. In Suicidal Thoughts, Biggie reflected on dark feelings, rapping, "I swear to God, I feel like death is calling me." In You're Nobody, Till Somebody Kills You, he spoke of fame and destiny being 2 sides of the same coin. It was as if he had already accepted his future. 6 months after Tupac's passing, Biggie traveled to Los Angeles to promote his new album. On March 9th, 1997, after leaving a party, his car was ambushed in an attack. He was hit multiple times and pronounced unresponsive hours later, just weeks before Life After Death was set to drop. Was this all coincidence, or did Biggie somehow sense his time was limited? His case, like Tupac's, remains a mystery. But one thing is undeniable, he left behind words that eerily foreshadowed the tragic end of his story at just 24 years old. Number 3. John Lennon, the rock star who knew his end was near. John Lennon feared he would meet a tragic fate. He said it openly in interviews, as if he could feel a shadow following him. In 1964, when the Beatles were at their peak, he chillingly stated, "I don't plan on being a rock star at 40. I'd rather be gone." Years later, Lennon's words became even more haunting. In his final interview in 1980, he talked about the danger of fame, saying, "If somebody wants to take your life, they can. You can't stop it." He even admitted he was afraid of being harmed by an obsessive fan. On December 8th, 1980, his fears became reality. As he returned to his New York apartment, a man he had met earlier that day, Mark David Chapman, was waiting for him. As Lennon walked past, Chapman called out and took action. Lennon collapsed on the pavement, gravely injured outside his home. By the time he reached the hospital, it was too late. John Lennon was gone. Did he sense his fate creeping closer? Or was it just the harsh reality of being one of the most famous men in the world? Either way, his prophecy came true. Number 4. Kurt Cobain, the rock star who knew he wouldn't grow old. Kurt Cobain always felt like he was running out of time. He often hinted that he wouldn't live long, from his music to his journals. In Nirvana's hit Come As You Are, he eerily sang, "I swear that I don't have a gun." But in the end, that's precisely how his life ended. Cobain struggled with fame, personal battles, and mental health. In interviews, he spoke about feeling like an outsider who didn't belong. At one point, he even told a friend, "I hate being alive." His downward spiral seemed inevitable. In March 1994, just weeks before his passing, Cobain overdosed on pills in Rome. Though he survived, he later wrote in a note, "I don't have the passion anymore." On April 5th, 1994, his worst fears became reality. Alone in his Seattle home, Cobain made the heartbreaking decision to end his life. His body wasn't found until 3 days later. Beside him was a note that ended with the now famous words, "It's better to burn out than to fade away." Kurt Cobain didn't just predict his fate, he seemed to accept it long before it happened. At just 27, he became another tragic legend lost too soon. Number 5. XXXTentacion, the rapper who saw his end coming. XXXTentacion often spoke about fate, almost as if he knew what awaited him. His lyrics, social media posts, and even his final video seemed to foreshadow his tragic end. In Sad, one of his biggest hits, he sang, "Who am I? Someone afraid to let go. You decide if you're ever gonna let me know." In I Spoke to the Devil in Miami, he hauntingly rapped, "My departure will be glorious." But the most chilling part? Just months before his passing, he recorded a video saying, "If I'm gonna leave or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy." It was almost as if he knew. On June 18th, 2018, XXXTentacion was leaving a motorcycle dealership in Florida when two individuals approached his car. Within seconds, he was confronted in an apparent robbery. He tragically lost his life at just 20 years old. Did he genuinely sense his fate, or was it just an eerie coincidence? Whatever the case, his words now feel like an unsettling prophecy. XXXTentacion may be gone, but his music and his message still echo through the world.
Now first, like always, be sure to hit the like button down below. It helps us out tremendously with the reach of this video. Thank you.
Number 6. Chester Bennington, the singer who sang his goodbye.
I don't know if anybody out there can relate, but I have a hard time with life. Sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes it's great, but a lot of times for me, it's really hard.
Chester Bennington's voice was filled with pain, and so were his lyrics. For years, he poured his struggles with mental health and personal trauma into his music. Looking back, his words now feel like heartbreaking warnings. In One More Light, he sang, "Who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do." In Heavy, he asked, "Why is everything so heavy?" But the most chilling part, Chester passed away on the birthday of his close friend Chris Cornell, who had tragically left the world just 2 months earlier. Bennington had spoken openly about his battles with inner demons. In interviews, he described feeling constantly at war with himself. He once admitted, "I came to a point in my life where I was like, I can either just give up and disappear, or I can fight." On July 20th, 2017, that fight came to an end. Chester Bennington was found in his home, having passed away. The news devastated fans around the world. His music had always been a cry for help, one that millions related to. But in the end, it wasn't enough to save him. Chester Bennington's voice is gone, but his words will never fade. Number 7. Jimi Hendrix, the guitar god who sang about his fate. Jimi Hendrix was a musical genius, but also seemed unsettled about his future. In his song The Ballad of Jimi, released in 1965, he sang, "Many things he would try, for he knew soon he'd fly." Even stranger, the song ends with the chilling words, "5 years, this he said. He's not gone, he's just resting." 5 years later, Jimi Hendrix was gone. Hendrix often spoke about fate. He once told a friend, "I'm not going to live to be 30. His lyrics were filled with imagery of escape, the afterlife, and leaving this world behind. One of his last songs, I Don't Live Today, carried the haunting line, "If I don't meet you no more in this world, then I'll meet you in the next one." On September 18th, 1970, Hendrix was found unresponsive in a London apartment after reportedly taking a heavy dose of sleeping pills. He was rushed to the hospital but never regained consciousness. He was just 27. Did Jimi Hendrix truly sense his fate, or was it all a tragic coincidence? Either way, his words became a reality, and his legend still lives on. Number 8. Mac Miller, the rapper who knew his time was short. Mac Miller often rapped about life, fame, and the dangers that came with it. But as his music evolved, so did his message. His lyrics became darker and more reflective, almost as if he knew he wouldn't be around for long. In his song Self-Care, he eerily rapped, "Somebody save me from myself." In another track, 2009, he admitted, "I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here when it all goes wrong." On September 7th, 2018, it did. Miller had struggled with personal battles for years, something he openly addressed in his music. Just a month before his passing, he spoke in an interview about trying to find peace, saying, "You know what's crazy? I feel great." But the darkness hadn't left him. That night, he was found unresponsive in his Los Angeles home. He had unknowingly taken a mix of dangerous substances. He was just 26. Mac Miller didn't just rap about life, he rapped about its weight. And in the end, the weight seemed too much to bear. His music lives on, filled with messages that now feel like warnings he couldn't escape. Number 9. Jim Morrison, the poet who predicted his fate. Jim Morrison had an obsession with destiny. He wrote about it, sang, and even joked that he wouldn't live past 27. He once told friends, "You're drinking with number 3. He referred to Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, two music legends who had recently passed at 27. Not long after, Morrison joined them. His lyrics were full of eerie foreshadowing. In celebration of the lizard, he wrote, "Did you have a good world when you left? Enough to base a movie on." Another song, The End, included the chilling line, "This is the end, beautiful friend." It was almost as if Morrison had already accepted his fate. In July 1971, Morrison and his girlfriend, Pamela Courson, lived in Paris. One night, he told her he wasn't feeling well and took a bath to relax. Hours later, she found him unresponsive in the tub. He was officially pronounced gone at just 27 years old. The cause? A suspected health complication, though no autopsy was ever performed. Jim Morrison predicted his fate, and then, like a character from one of his songs, he vanished into legend. Number 10. Jeff Buckley, the singer who walked into his fate. Jeff Buckley's music was haunting, but what makes it even more chilling is how often he sang about water and how he passed. His lyrics were filled with imagery of drowning, disappearing, and fading away. In his song Dream Brother, he warns someone, "Don't float away." In Grace, he sings, "My time has come." On May 29th, 1997, Buckley worked on his second album in Memphis. That night, he decided to swim in the Wolf River. He walked entirely clothed into the water without hesitation, singing Led Zeppelin's Whole Lotta Love. He was never seen alive again. Despite being a strong swimmer, Buckley was pulled under by the current. His disappearance seemed almost surreal, with no struggle, no screams. His body was found 6 days later, floating in the river. He was only 30 years old. There were no harmful substances in his system, no signs of foul play, just a musician who had spent years singing about drowning until one night it happened. Was it just a tragic accident? Or did Jeff Buckley unknowingly write the script of his fate? Either way, his voice still echoes through the waves. What makes these stories so chilling isn't just that these musicians left too soon. They seemed to know it was coming. Their lyrics, interviews, and final actions revealed a future they couldn't escape. Was it fate? A self-fulfilling prophecy? Or is it just an eerie coincidence? Maybe these artists were more in tune with life and the unknown than the rest of us. Maybe their words weren't predictions, but warnings that we only truly understood after it was too late. One thing is sure, their voices live on. Their music, messages, and stories echo long after they've gone. And maybe that means they never really left. What do you think? Did these musicians predict their fate? Or was it just an unsettling coincidence? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that make you question everything. Until next time, stay curious and stay listening.